Okay, today we're going to have a look at creating contact sheets in Photoshop. If you haven't used Photoshop before, it doesn't matter because we're going to look at only this particular skill and this function of the program. First thing you want to do is, before you get started on a contact sheet, you need to have a folder, probably on your groups drive under whichever class you're in, and the name of the images that you're using. And you want all the images in one folder, and that's going to be important because you'll see why in a second. Now, after you've done that and made sure you've got that before you start this process, you're going to go to Photoshop. So it might be in your dock already, but if your dock's not showing or Photoshop's not there, depending on the laptop you've got, you can go up to your Finder and type in, pretty much if you type in Pho or Photoshop, it will come up. It can take a while to open because it's quite a large file, large program. Depending on how old your laptop is too will depend on how quickly it takes. So that was pretty quick. Now the first thing you want to do is you're going to go up to File, you're going to scroll down to Automate, and you're going to go to Contact Sheet 2. Now if your folder that you're wanting to access is on the Groups drive, you'll have to connect to the Groups drive first before you do this step. If it's on your desktop or on a memory stick, then you can just proceed. Now, the first thing you want to do, there's only really two sections that you're interested in here. The first is up the top here, which will tell us where to go to find our folder, and then the bottom, which tells us how we want to lay out the images. So here we're going to click on Choose, and then we can navigate to where our folder is. If your folder is on the Groups drive, you'll see it down here somewhere where it says File -2, and you'll click on it and then navigate through the folders, usually to your documents, then to the class, then to the actual folder. I have some here on my desktop, so I'm going to click on Desktop, and it's actually under my username, so I'm going to go here to my username. I'm going to go to the folder that I want, my classes, the year, and you'll see here I've got a folder here called Images. I've got a number of images here. You might have a lot more depending on what your project is, but these are the images I want to put in. You see that all of them are JPEGs, and I'm ready to go. JPEGs or TIFFs will work. So I'm going to go Open. Now we see here this is what we call a path, and it tells the program where to go to find the photos that I want put into this contact sheet. So now the next part I said down here we want to look at, this tells us how many images are going to be on a page. At the moment there are 5 columns and 6 rows, and a contact sheet comes out in an A4 size layout, usually portrait, which means that it's narrower, more narrow than it is long. So if we've got 5 columns, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's pretty good. That'll fit 30 pictures on a page, on an A4 page. And you'll see here, actually one thing to show you, if this is actually not quite the right size. So if the size is incorrect, what it needs to be is it needs to be 21 centimeters, which we know from here, and here 29.7. Those are the measurements for an A4 page. If someone's changed it the last time they were in, you just need to double check that. But usually, if the settings are like this, you don't need to change anything. You certainly don't need to change anything down here. Alrighty, so now I've got 5 across, 6 down. Even if you don't have over 30 images, you can still use this number so that they fit to a certain size on a page. So now I'm going to go OK. It's an automated thing, so it'll do it. I don't need to do anything. You can see that the program is thinking here and doing its thing here. And while it's doing that, I'll just explain what a contact sheet came from. Oh look, that's how quick it is. Now a contact sheet comes from when photos used to be developed in darkrooms before we had digital photography, and a photographer would take the negatives, which look like this, and print them all on one page, so then they could choose which photo they want to develop, so they don't have to pay the money for all the paper and supplies to develop every photo. So that's where it comes from. That's what the name is from. Now my contact sheet is made because most of them were quite small file sizes. If they're bigger files, like each photo is a bigger file size, it'll take longer. Once I've done that, I need to do something called flattening the document, which squashes all the layers together. You can see it's done it, but there's still one layer. And I know this because the way it looks when it's flattened is it has a little padlock and it says background, which means there's only one layer. Everything is squashed together. Now, to do that, I need to go up to this little drop-down menu here, which is on the Layers palette, this little section here. If your Layers palette is not there in Photoshop, you can go up to Window, scroll down to Layers, and click on it. You'll see mine is because it's got a little tick. Okay, so back over here, click on the drop-down menu, flatten the image, and here's what I'm talking about where it says background and a padlock. The last thing you need to do to get ready to print it or upload it is you go File. You want to go Save As, so that if you're working on another document, you're not going to override it. Save As. Contact Sheet 1. Now, if I just pull this down, see here it says Contact Sheet 1. If you've got multiple contact sheets, say you've got 100 photos, you'll have nearly 3 contact sheets. You need to flatten and save as for every file. If you've got more than one, they'll come up in tabs here. So once I've saved this, I'm going to close it. So you'll see here I've changed it, I've flattened it, and if it says Photoshop, it'll have what we call a .psd extension. We don't want that because not all websites or printers can actually deal with those files. So I'm going to click on here where it says Format. I'm going to scroll down to JPEG and I'm going to go Save. Now here the slide allows me to change how big the file size is. This is pretty good. It's not a very big file size. It's half a megabyte. 1000 kilobytes is a megabyte. I can go OK. And now it's saved that way. You can see that the file extension says JPEG up here. Now I can close that. Okay. Now I would do, if I had more than one, I'd then proceed to flatten, file, save as there. So that is how you create a contact sheet and how you flatten it ready for printing.